What do you think when you see a simple wooden box sitting in a field under the morning sun? You might imagine a quaint hobby beehive producing enough honey for a family breakfast. But what you don't see is that this single hive is just one soldier in an army of 50,000 colonies, generating over $8 million annually in liquid gold. Hidden across thousands of acres of agricultural land, these buzzing factories house over 2.5 billion bees, working in perfect synchronization to produce 1.2 million pounds of honey each year. Each hive operates like a miniature city with 60,000 residents, where a single colony can produce 60 pounds of honey, worth $420 in premium markets. What appears to be peaceful countryside dotted with wooden boxes is actually one of agriculture's most sophisticated mass production operations, where satellite-guided trucks transport entire cities of bees across continents following billion-dollar crop blooms. The scale defies imagination. Enough honey to fill 2,400 standard bathtubs, generated by insects whose combined flight distance equals 3.2 million trips around Earth. Join me as we discover how modern mega-apiaries transform ancient bee behavior into industrial-scale sweetness that feeds a $9.2 billion global honey market. Most people see beekeeping as a peaceful rural hobby, but what they don't realize is that we're witnessing agriculture's most precisely choreographed mass production ballet, disguised as nature working at its own pace. I've spent 2 seasons following commercial beekeepers across California's Central Valley, and beneath those orderly rows of white hives lies a floating factory system that rivals any high-tech manufacturing plant. These aren't backyard hobbyists. They're operating biological manufacturing complexes where each hive represents a $150 investment, housing a living assembly line of 60,000 workers. These remarkable insects operate on industrial schedules, with forager bees covering 55,000 miles collectively to produce just 1 pound of honey. What appears as simple wooden boxes scattered across almond orchards is actually a mobile city network capable of relocating 50,000 colonies overnight using specialized semi-trucks equipped with climate control and GPS tracking. The scale transforms your understanding of agriculture entirely. A single mega-apiary spanning 15,000 acres can house 2.5 billion bees, generating 1.2 million pounds of honey annually, enough to supply 240,000 households for an entire year. These underground cities of hexagonal perfection contain 3 billion individual wax cells, representing architectural precision that would cost billions to replicate using human engineering. The technical sophistication rivals aerospace operations. Each hive contains digital monitoring sensors, tracking temperature, humidity, and population density in real time. Beekeepers use thermal imaging drones to assess colony health across thousands of hives simultaneously, while GPS-enabled smokers ensure precise hive management. Modern queen breeding programs utilize artificial insemination techniques that cost $40 per queen, but guarantee genetic traits optimized for specific agricultural crops. These floating factories feed global supply chains worth $9.2 billion annually. California operations alone produce 280 million pounds of honey yearly, feeding industrial food production from cereal manufacturers to pharmaceutical companies requiring medical-grade honey. The economic impact transforms entire regions. Bakersfield processes over $150 million worth of honey annually, making it America's unofficial honey capital. Each colony operates like a precision instrument, with bees maintaining hive temperatures within 2 degrees Fahrenheit through sophisticated wing fanning techniques that consume energy equivalent to a small electric heater running 24/7. But what if I told you there's an even more extreme and dangerous approach to honey production? In the remote cliffs of Nepal and Bhutan, where Himalayan honey hunters dangle from rope ladders 300 feet above jagged rocks, the world's most dangerous honey harvest produces specimens worth $60 per pound. Liquid gold that requires risking death for every drop collected. I witnessed hunters like Mani Lal, who climbs vertical cliff faces using hand-woven bamboo ladders while being attacked by the world's largest honeybees, Apis dorsata laboriosa, whose stings can hospitalize grown men. These mountain giants build hives the size of dining room tables on sheer rock faces where helicopters cannot reach, creating honey so potent it's considered medicinal medicine worth more than many people's monthly salaries. The technical precision required defies human limitations. Hunters work while suspended by ropes made from yak hair, using traditional bamboo tools, and smokers burning rhododendron leaves that produce hallucinations if inhaled incorrectly. Every movement must be calculated perfectly. One wrong step means a 300-foot fall onto granite boulders. The bees themselves pose lethal threats, with stings containing neurotoxins that cause paralysis and cardiac arrest. But they're not risking their lives for ordinary honey. This red honey, created from rhododendron nectar at altitudes above 8,000 feet, contains psychoactive compounds that create mild euphoria when consumed in small doses. Mad honey, as locals call it, sells for $60 to $80 per pound in international markets, with single harvests yielding 200 pounds worth $15,000, more than most Nepalese families earn in 5 years. The danger escalates during the brief 3-week harvest season when cliff conditions become accessible. Weather windows last only hours, and hunters work in teams where one person's mistake endangers everyone. Mani told me about watching his uncle fall to his death during a harvest gone wrong, yet he continues this ancestral profession because successful expeditions can support extended families for entire years. These vertical warriors battle not just gravity and killer bees, but altitude sickness, hypothermia, and equipment failure, using technology unchanged for over 1,000 years. Each expedition requires carrying all supplies up treacherous mountain paths where pack animals refuse to venture. Yet halfway across the world, a completely different approach produces equally extraordinary results using methods that seem almost supernatural. In the ancient forests of Slovenia, where medieval beekeeping traditions have remained unchanged for over 600 years, the Novak family produces the world's most sought-after linden honey using wooden hives painted with folk art and methods that predate modern agriculture by centuries. Anton Novak, a fifth-generation beekeeper, tends 800 traditional Azida hives scattered throughout pristine alpine valleys where industrial agriculture has never penetrated. No plastic components, no artificial feeding, no chemical treatments, just hand-carved wooden hives positioned according to ancestral knowledge that reads forest rhythms invisible to modern science. These painted palaces, decorated with folk art depicting religious scenes and local legends, house bee colonies that have lived in these valleys for millennia. Working with local carniolan bees, a species perfectly adapted to Slovenia's harsh alpine winters, the Novaks produce honey so pure it crystallizes into formations resembling precious stones. Their secret lies in generational knowledge passed down through oral tradition, understanding how lunar cycles affect nectar flow, recognizing subtle changes in tree blossoms that indicate optimal harvesting periods, and maintaining hive temperatures using techniques developed during the Habsburg Empire. The family's 800 hives produce 32,000 pounds of premium linden honey annually, worth over $640,000 in European specialty markets. But their true treasure is acacia honey that flows for just 10 days each May, commanding $45 per pound from Austrian patisseries and Swiss chocolate manufacturers. This brief harvest requires timing so precise that Anton can predict optimal collection windows down to specific hours based on barometric pressure and morning dew patterns. Their traditional approach serves the world's most discriminating customers. Michelin-starred restaurants in Vienna pay $50 per kilogram specifically for Novak honey, recognizing terroir as distinctive as fine wine. High-end European health spas use their honey in treatments costing $300 per session, while pharmaceutical companies source their unprocessed varieties for medical applications. Anton's son Marco represents the sixth generation learning these ancient methods, combining traditional knowledge with minimal modern monitoring to maintain quality without compromising centuries-old practices. Their annual income rivals urban professionals, yet they live simply, viewing themselves as guardians of an ancient covenant between humans and bees. But for the ultimate luxury, we must examine where the world's most expensive honey commands prices that rival precious metals. But for the ultimate luxury, we must journey to New Zealand's remote Manuka forests, where the world's most expensive honey sells for $1,000 per kilogram, making it more valuable by weight than silver, and sought after by billionaires who consider it edible medicine worth any price. The exclusivity begins with timing itself. Manuka trees bloom for just 4 to 6 weeks annually, creating a harvest window so brief that entire operations can fail if weather patterns shift by mere days. Master beekeepers like James Morrison position their 2,000 hives across 50,000 acres of pristine wilderness, accessible only by helicopter, investing $2 million annually in logistics that would bankrupt smaller operations. These aren't ordinary beehives. They're biological laboratories producing honey with scientifically proven antibacterial properties that exceed pharmaceutical antibiotics in certain applications. Manuka honey with UMF ratings above 20 plus sells for $800 to $1,200 per kilogram, with the highest grades commanding prices that luxury watch collectors pay for rare timepieces. A single 250-gram jar retails for $400 in Tokyo's most exclusive department stores. The time investment required defies conventional agriculture. Manuka trees take 25 years to reach peak nectar production, requiring decades of forest management with no guaranteed returns. Beekeepers invest $500,000 establishing operations in remote locations where cellular coverage doesn't exist, and supply deliveries require chartered flights, costing $5,000 per trip. The market destinations reveal Manuka's true luxury status. Private clients in Dubai pay $2,000 per kilogram for exclusive reserves, while wellness clinics in Beverly Hills charge $150 for single tablespoons served in gold-plated spoons. Medical researchers purchase laboratory-grade Manuka honey for $3,000 per kilogram, using it in wound treatment studies that could revolutionize hospital care. The production numbers seem impossibly small for such massive investments. Morrison's entire operation produces just 15,000 kilograms annually, yet generates $18 million in revenue, more per unit than most luxury goods manufacturers. Each hive yields only 25 kilograms of premium Manuka honey, requiring perfect synchronization between bee behavior, weather patterns, and forest ecology. A single jar of UMF 25 plus Manuka honey contains the work of 556 bees visiting 2 million flowers across 55,000 miles of flight. Yet this entire industry faces unprecedented threats that could eliminate these liquid treasures within decades. Yet this entire $9.2 billion global honey industry now faces an existential crisis as colony collapse disorder, climate change, and habitat destruction threaten to eliminate 40% of commercial bee populations within the next decade. potentially ending honey production as we know it forever. The statistics reveal an agricultural apocalypse in progress. North American beekeepers report average colony losses of 45% annually, while European operations document complete regional die-offs during increasingly frequent extreme weather events. Pesticide contamination has rendered millions of acres unsuitable for commercial beekeeping, forcing operations to relocate constantly in search of clean foraging territories that shrink by 200,000 acres yearly. Innovation emerges from desperate necessity as the industry pioneers revolutionary solutions that sound like science fiction. Researchers at UC Davis developed robotic pollinators capable of replacing bee colonies for specific crops, while Israeli companies create vertical farming systems that produce controlled nectar sources for urban apiaries. These technological hives cost $15,000 each, but guarantee consistent honey production regardless of environmental conditions. Artificial intelligence now monitors hive health using acoustic sensors that detect colony stress 72 hours before human beekeepers would notice problems. Drone technology equipped with pollen dispensers supplements natural bee activity, while genetic engineering programs develop disease-resistant bee lines that can survive in increasingly hostile environments. The balance required between preservation and production demands unprecedented global cooperation. New international protocols regulate pesticide use within 5-mile radiuses of registered apiaries, while satellite monitoring systems track bee population movements across continents. Climate-controlled shipping containers now transport entire colonies between hemispheres, following seasonal bloom patterns that maximize honey production while minimizing environmental stress. Revolutionary breeding programs preserve genetic diversity through liquid nitrogen storage of bee sperm, creating biological insurance policies that could repopulate entire regions if local colonies collapse. Vertical beekeeping installations in urban environments produce honey using rooftop gardens and hydroponic nectar sources, generating 200 pounds per hive annually in spaces smaller than parking spots. The future envisions honey production that maintains traditional quality while adapting to environmental realities that previous generations never imagined. Young beekeepers learn both ancient techniques and biotechnology, becoming environmental stewards of insects that connect flowering plants to human civilization through golden threads of sweetness. From those simple wooden boxes in peaceful fields to a 9.2 billion global industry supporting 2.5 billion bees, we've witnessed how nature's most organized society creates liquid gold that connects ancient forests to modern luxury tables. We've seen cliff-hanging warriors risk death for psychoactive mountain honey, watched alpine families preserve 6 centuries of beekeeping wisdom, and discovered how single jars command prices rivaling precious metals. The journey from flower nectar to billionaire's breakfast table reveals humanity's remarkable partnership with insects whose work makes possible 1/3 of everything we eat. As environmental threats challenge this ancient alliance, we're witnessing possibly the last generation of traditional beekeepers who learned their craft when wild bee populations thrived in unpolluted landscapes. What other hidden agricultural partnerships do you think are sustaining our modern food systems? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more investigations into the extraordinary stories behind everyday sweetness.